dwells near you.
There was a time when heaping praise upon The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was obvious. It was the undisputed, the lineal, the greatest game of all time, and pretty much everybody unanimously agreed that it was a masterpiece. And then, as with anything, gamers and fans positioned themselves on the outside, the indie, and began to make arguments against Ocarina's claim. It became cool to speak against it due to its age, graphics, and certain gameplay quirks, and over time, it began to feel like the tables had turned. It was, and possibly is, a minority who, even with the advancements in technology and the ways in which games are made, staunchly stand by Ocarina of Time and continue to label it the greatest. I am one of those people. I'm a Ganon fight away from finishing my playthrough of a randomised Ocarina of Time seed, which you can watch right here on this channel. The link to the playlist is in the description if you're interested. So I find myself once again emotionally reinvested in the game that defined my childhood. Now seems the perfect time, therefore, to tell you why Ocarina of Time is still so important to me. In the lead up to Christmas 2015, I was searching through my wardrobe when I found my dad's old Nintendo 64. Covered in dust and tangled in a sea of wires, the sight of it brought back all the memories of watching my dad play through the game over many years. I would always watch, suggest ideas to solve puzzles, and occasionally take control myself. These are my first memories of video games. However, as I grew up and moved on to games such as Halo, FIFA and The Elder Scrolls, I never took the time to sit down myself and play the game from start to finish. I decided to dust it down, blow lightly on the old cartridge like we were always told to, and boot up the N64. Fast forward to the 20th of December 2015. I had taken this picture, note the empty bag of Tesco cookies on the floor, and written the following onto my note section. 20th of December 2015, 22:34, aged 14. Took a picture of the ending scene and posted to Facebook at 22:39. Stared blankly in disbelief and emotion at the screen until 23:02, before taking a solemn and yet proud sigh and switching off the N64. 14 years of my life and it is finally done. Ocarina of Time completed without a game over. Thank you, Nintendo. Thank you for all the memories. While this is incredibly and unnecessarily emotional and possibly a bit sad, we as humans often form an attachment or feel nostalgia toward important things in our early development, be that music, stories, places, or in this case all three wrapped into the perfect game. The fact that I felt the need to specify the precise date and time and document the moment shows just how monumental this moment felt to me. So why? Why this game? Why Ocarina of Time? The first and easiest explanation is that I grew up watching my dad play the game, so of course I'm going to form an attachment to it. But this wasn't the only game he or I or any of my friends played at an early age, and it hasn't just stuck with me and my childhood friends who formed a similar bond with the game, but millions of people around the world. Just look at the communities such as the speedrunner, the randomizers, the video essays. I am not the only one. And this game clearly has something special that has captured the imaginations of so many worldwide. There is more to this than nostalgia. It would make sense to give an overview of the story here. However, I'm going to start with the part of the game that is not only crucial to the narrative and gameplay, but also to my heart. Koji Kondo's genius soundtrack drives so much of the Zelda series, and Ocarina of Time, in my opinion, alongside Majora's Mask, is his magnum opus. Kondo had the task of using only 5 notes, that's 4 C buttons and the A button, to craft an engaging, enthralling, but also narratively fitting soundtrack to accompany the game, whilst also factoring in the limitations of the N64's technology. And boy did he excel. The game has 13 playable Ocarina tracks that allow Link to solve puzzles, reach out to friends, and warp across the land of Hyrule. Some of these are especially beautiful. The call and response military march of the Bolero of Fire, the epic and foreboding Requiem of Spirit, and the childlike forest waltz of the Minuet of Forest, which perfectly calls back to the forest's importance for Link in his younger years. And that is not to mention the abundance of what are now classics on show here. Zelda's Lullaby, Saria's Song, and of course the macabre circus ride that is the Song of Storms. In my recent playthrough, the randomizer replaced the combat music with the Windmill Hut variation of this tune, and watching the undead enemies sidestepping as if engaged in a ritualistic dance with the hero was
perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
Ocarina of Time features some of the best pieces of soundtrack music in the history of gaming. As soon as you boot up the game, you are greeted by the moon falling, a distant clatter of hooves with a distant green-clad rider, and that F major 7 chord. I get shivers whenever I hear it. I'm taken back all those years to the wide-eyed child soaking in every moment of the adventure. And then we reach the file selection screen and are greeted by the Zelda staple that is Great Fairy's Fountain. Music is incredible in how it can conjure images in our mind, and this song and that screen are synonymous, and of course the half-naked shrieking fairy bursting from a pool of shallow water. Into the game proper, and we have certified classics such as Hyrule Field, the banger that is Gerudo Valley and its flamenco influences, and of course the dungeon music. Save Data has a fantastic series of videos that explore how Ocarina's dungeon music perfectly encapsulates that particular level's themes and motifs in far greater depths than I will be able to here. However, from the trickling of water in the Water Temple theme, the tribal jungle chants of the Forest Temple theme, and the Eastern scales and instrumentation in the Spirit Temple theme, Kondo's soundtrack fits the atmosphere perfectly at every turn. Even when tasked with composing music for the inside of a dying fish god, Kondo delivers. I have a special place in my heart for the Lon Lon Ranch theme, especially when in close proximity to Malon, who will belt out her rendition of the song for Link. There is a particular moment in the tune when the snoozy 6/8 farmyard ditty suddenly shifts into a gut-wrenching, melancholy ballad with the introduction of synth strings over a B-flat major 7 chord. This chorus symbolises the sadness and acceptance that comes with loss of innocence, a key theme within the subtext of the game. Malon wants to sing and tend to her horses all day without a care, but the ranch will be taken over. She will be trapped in the stables, cleaning and sweeping and scrubbing, and her father will abandon her, unless awoken by a certain hero. Link will have his childhood ripped from him and be forced to act his own age, even though he doesn't feel ready. We all feel like life is moving too fast for us sometimes, and Kondo expertly captures the all-too-abrupt shift from carefree to melancholy with one simple chord change and a synth patch. And in the next verse, the music tries to reset, to relive the nostalgia of those carefree days, but the synth strings remain ever haunting in the background, slightly dissonant, and reminding us that the chorus, the reality of life, is coming back around whether we like it or not. I really could go on forever about the music in this game and likely bore you with the technicalities of it. This game is one of the primary things that made me fall in love with songwriting and composition. It led me to studying the craft for my degree, and to this day I write, record and release music. If not for Ocarina and Koji Kondo, I likely never would have followed that passion. The story of Ocarina of Time is classic romantic heroism. A young child grows up to fulfill his destiny and save the princess. We've heard it a million times before, and it works. Link is a hero, the prophesied chosen one, and we, the player, take pride in carrying Hyrule's fate on our shoulders, escaping into the screen to conquer every challenge. However, as I've alluded to, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes here. Link has no family. His mother flees from the terror of war and leaves him with the great Deku Tree in the forest, who acts as his only father figure. He has no fairy and is an outsider to all of the forest folk, many of whom don't like him and talk down to him. Even as a young kid, Link has to put this behind him and help the people of the forest by ending the curse on the Deku Tree. However, by doing so, he allows the great tree to rest peacefully, and the children of the forest blame him for killing the tree. Link did everything right with the best of intentions. He saved the forest and allowed the Deku Tree to be at peace. Yet none of his so-called friends give him any recognition for it. So Link sets off to collect the spiritual stones, so Ganondorf can't use them to enter the sacred realm and steal the Triforce. However, Ganondorf allows Link to collect them and use them before nipping in ahead and getting his grubby hands on the artifact anyway. Once again, Link's work, with all the right intentions, backfires. Link must then wait in the Chamber of the Sages for 7 years, his childhood ripped suddenly away from him so that he can face Ganondorf and save the land. He emerges, and all of the places he visited as a child that were friendly and fun are now polluted with the tendrils of Ganon's magic. He can't relive them because things have changed and gotten harder and require hard work to stave off. Of course, he does this, purifying the world as he goes, earning acclaim and glory, and finally faces off with his foe and casting him down. And yet, in the end, Zelda sends him back in time with the Ocarina. She does this out of kindness, so that Link can reclaim his lost childhood, but nobody remembers him. All of his great deeds are forgotten and lost to another timeline. All of his hard work and victory is his and his alone to celebrate and remember. To everyone else, he is once again just another outsider, a man trapped in the body of a child. The reason why this story has captivated so many is it is both perfect imaginary escapism and brutal, relatable reality. You get to be the hero, you get to save the princess and the world, and you also have to move on. Move on from your childhood, accept that everyone else is chasing their goals and dreams and that your life is yours and you should live it not for glory or fame or adoration, but simply for you, for doing what you know you must do, even when nobody else appreciates or understands it. This game teaches you the best of life and its harsh realities, allowing you to come to terms with them. It truly is an allegory for growing up. Good Blood has a brilliant video delving deeper into the storyline of Ocarina than I can here, and I really urge you to check it out. A lot of the modern day criticisms of the game are thrown at its gameplay mechanics. I had a friend who had clearly spent too long on the wrong side of YouTube who insisted that Z targeting was the bane of all gaming and that the sometimes fiddly camera angles make the game unplayable today. Fool of a took! First, some context. The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was released in 1998. It was the first ever 3D Zelda game and one of the first 3D action-adventure games ever. The game introduced features such as target lock systems and context-sensitive buttons, which have become common in 3D adventure games. I remarked several times throughout my randomized playthrough how fun I found combat in the game, even today. And that satisfying but hard to describe hit sound when you connect your sword, it's borderline orgasmic. Yes, I really do like this game a lot. Music, as I have mentioned, is central to the plotline, but so is puzzle solving and tactical nous. The Windmill Hut side quest, which sees adult Link play the Song of Storms to the music box guy so that he can teach it in turn to a young Link later in the game, is such a clever idea that the game forces you to work out for yourself. And yes, a lot is made of the hand-holding that the game provides through the constant "Hey, listen" from Navi, which both lowers the difficulty and gets annoying on further playthroughs. But A, the game is therefore incredibly accessible to us as children, and B, admit it, Navi is lovable, if a little frustrating at times. It would be wrong to talk in depth about a Zelda game without touching on its dungeons. I would confidently say that Ocarina's dungeons are the best I've come across in the franchise, and they all hit their respective themes to a T. Even the comparatively weaker dungeons, such as Jabu Jabu's Belly and the Ice Cavern, are immersive and have some standout moments. Speaking of moments though, I want to pick a few out for you. Opening the door to the main chamber in the Forest Temple, your first adult dungeon, and being greeted by a once proud fortification now abandoned, eerie and derelict. Watching as Dark Link's magic fades and the seemingly endless milky wilderness fades back into an ordinary room. Setting the bells in motion and experiencing the Shadow Temple ghost ship as it begins to bob shakily upon an invisible ocean, powered by the spirits of the dead. These cinematic masterpieces are supplemented by dungeon design, the brilliance of the timey-wimey mechanics of the Spirit Temple with its parallel layout, and the sheer vertigo of the Fire Temple as you climb further and further up through the Death Mountain crater. Even the infamous Water Temple with its hidden keys and endless iron boots changes is a joy once you become one with its mysteries, although I was certainly helped by being able to set the iron boots to the D-pad. Go with me on this one. Being a young lad playing through this game was an awakening in many different ways. Don't tell me I was the only person who fell in love with every female character at one point. I had the largest and my first ever crush on Princess Zelda for a long time, found the mysterious Nabooru exceptionally captivating, and even found solace in the slippery gills of everyone's favourite fish princess. Okay, I made that one sound a lot worse than I could have done. But the one that stuck with me was the adorable Malon. And before the FBI puts me on a watch list, Malon is 10 when you're a child in game, so by the time adult Link has finished his 7-year nap, she would be 17. Oh, why am I going into the legalities of a childhood animated crush? It's just a game, people. Anyway, back on track. I'm a music man, and hearing her sing my favourite tune from the game made Lon Lon Ranch a safe space for me, when, as a child, I was terrified of the big wide world of Hyrule. I like to think that after the game, Link settled down with Malon for a while and produced Lon Lon Milk, no, not that, and had cowboy children. It seems the developers felt the same way. In Twilight Princess, a descendant of the Hero of Time, can be found living in Ordon Village, which for all intents and purposes is a ranch. Oh, and as for Saria, I think we'd be friends. To conclude then, I hope I'm not the only one who feels these emotions towards the game. I'm already starting to pre-miss it. I know that when I stream that final slice through the skin of everyone's favourite demon pig, it will once again be tinged with emotion, just as it was nearly 10 years ago when I beat the game without any assistance for the first time. Come join me on Twitch or indeed on YouTube for that, and may this game, the greatest game, forever remain in our hearts as a reminder that those innocent childhood days never truly leave us. Thank you, Ocarina of Time. Thank you for everything. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching.